Welcome to the Action Lab Leadership Podcast, where we have honest, unfiltered conversations with business leaders. I'm Danny, founder of Action Lab Leadership, and today we are joined by Brian Hahn, one of the owners of Metropolis Resort. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thanks, Danny. Great to be here.
So let's dive into the places that we always start.
Sure.
Talking about leadership. You're obviously a leader in your business, but leadership is something that means something different to everyone I talk to.
Yep.
How do you define leadership, and what does it mean to you to be a leader in an organization?
So I'll go with an organization, but also kind of overall what I'm looking to do is I want to help. I heard this a long time ago, I don't remember from who it's from, but a leader helps people go, or groups of people go places that they never thought they could go on their own. And I want to help people, I guess, do things that they never thought possible. I can't believe I did that. Yes, you did. So that's what leadership means to me.
Are there people who helped you, leaders who helped you accomplish things that you didn't think were possible?
Oh, yes. Yes, very much so. I have a long list of them. Not a long, I shouldn't say that. The list is actually, it's longer than you think. I've had a long time to do this now. So, I've had decades to practice all this. So there's been a long list of leaders to do that. But yes, there has been. Everywhere from my dad to outside of that, actually, a pastor. I was involved in the church pretty heavily, and the pastor was a fantastic leader along the way. I've been involved in Boy Scouts for a long time, so there was Boy Scout leaders that taught me a lot about leadership. So, but that was as an adult, by the way. I did it for a little bit as a youngster, but not the same level.
I haven't done that as an adult, but I was in Boy Scouts quite a long time when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, Eagle Scout over here.
It's an Eagle Scout?
Yes.
Okay. My son's an Eagle Scout, so
there you go.
For that, so.
Well, having those mentors and leaders to help you along in your own journey,
yeah.
How much has that made the process easier for you to become a leader as you've grown into one?
Sure. It's one of those things that when you're starting to do something that you haven't done before, you're really unsure of how to even get started. And those people helped break down what seemed to be really big into smaller chunks that seemed doable. And then you look back and go, oh, wow, I did that. Now you go, oh, it's no big deal. I could do that. But at first you have no idea how to even get started. And having that experience helps me go back and help others try and break things down. The hardest part is that, the older I get, the more experience I get, the harder it is to go back to the very beginning with that. So I love doing that, but I don't like starting with someone as much as I used to with someone that's had no leadership experience at all. I can do that yet, but I like someone that's been being the leader for 6 months or a year and realize that they've had struggles and challenges, and then they've got a little bit more idea of reference to go on. So that's an age thing, I think. But
so at this point in your journey, you like working with not 0 to 1, but 1 to 2 and 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep. More so. No, I could get you started on 0 to 1. Then I'll assign you to a mentor that'll help you get to the 1. So,
what do you think when you look at people that are part, let's say, in your organization?
Yeah.
When you look at the people who are going from 0 to 1, and you look at the people who are going from, let's say, 1 to 2 or 1 to 5, right? Those two different camps of people. What are the common characteristics that you see among the 0 to 1s? What are the things that they most often struggle with, or the things that they find easiest to pick up in the beginning?
Sure. I'll give you the one that struggles with it. This is a surprise for most people, but the people that are from 0 to 1, a lot of times in the organization have been successful doing something already. So, I don't care if they're running or if they're running rides, if they're in a kitchen, it doesn't matter where they're at. They've had some success doing that, and then that usually brings them to the attention of the leadership team, say, oh, I think you could do more. The biggest challenge with them, a lot of times, is getting them to try something new. They've only seen one way that's made them successful, and they're really resistant to trying another way because they've never seen anything else work. So believe it or not, youngsters, I'm going to say 25 and below, are probably harder to get to try something new than someone that's above that age, because they've already seen multiple things work. And that's been an interesting thing for that. What we're looking for with people have the potential to become leaders are really looking for people that are looking beyond the job. They're not just there for the role they're filling right now. They have an interest in how other things work, and they're willing to try things with it. So that's been the most fun.
Well, and it's interesting because every part of our leadership journeys, we're all going to be trying things. And sometimes we're going to fail. Sometimes we're going to make massive mistakes. What is one thing that comes to mind if I ask you for a painful mistake that you made earlier in your leadership journey that you learned a big lesson from that made you a better leader on the other side of it?
Sure. Trying to do too much myself. So I knew I was the best. It was just whatever. You picked the thing that I was doing and I was the best at it. And then trying to do too much and then expecting the others to either do it the same that didn't have the years of experience, but really trying to do it yourself and not involving other people. Not, creating clearly what you were trying to do, but then getting them started and then letting them do it and possibly fail. And it's the matter of controlling the failure. So I don't mind if you have a few $100 failure, a few $1,000 failure, mind a little more, but when you start to get to tens of thousands or $500,000, that's a little bigger risk. So it's working that along the way.
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to a client of mine a few months ago, and we were having this conversation around the idea of delegation to his team. And the interesting thing that came up is that a lot of times we, all of us, have certain tasks of, well, no one can do this as good as me. But the revelation that we had is, even if that's true, and it not always is it true, but let's say it is true for the moment, the only way for that to not be true is to let your team suck first. Right. They have to suck at it and then learn and then get better, because he had realized there were things in the organization that he used to be the best at doing. And then through a lot of delegation and empowerment and growth over time, he had this moment where he looked around his business and went, oh my gosh, there are people who are doing that way better than I can do it. Yep. But the only way I got there is letting them suck first and me still be better, but I had to let them kind of be able to grow through it.
Right. And that's a huge part of that, letting it go. But then the next thing is that, by the way, is that as your team gets better and better, you start to feel not needed. And by the way, that's a real temptation for a leader to want to take it back, even though I'm talking about myself there. I want to take some of that back. So I'm just saying, because you want to be needed. The best thing is an emergency when they need me.
That is so common, because it's so interesting, the desire to be needed, because when you can empower everyone around you to do the things that they're really good at, and your role is no longer in the doing, it's in the leading.
Right.
But very often that transition from doing to leading, our identity gets tied up in, look at what I did, look at the things I did and I accomplished because I did them. Right. And then when you start leading, or even, I've been leading for a while and it still happens to me, where I can say, okay, but if I'm not doing anymore, then what is my accomplishment? What is my output? Let me take it back so I can do something and I can prove I can do it.
Yep.
And it's a difficult kind of dance to walk at times, because there's so much of our identity tied up in that, but our identity now is empowering other people.
Right. And that's the old conditioning. When I grew up, it was, all about how much work you did and how hard you worked. And it's like, well, is having a meeting with somebody really working? It's like, well, yes, because if they're leading 50 people, even if they're leading 10 people, and you help them see how they could do something different, you've affected 11 people now, not just one. And so it's that working with the leaders. So yes, that is where the real leverage is, I guess, in the leadership type of it. So
you talked about how for leadership to you is giving people the ability to accomplish things they didn't think was possible.
Right.
And that, I would imagine, is one of your favorite parts about leading, of being able to help people do more than they thought they could. Yeah. So that's something that you love about it. But what are some of the things that you dislike about leadership, or some of the things that are hard for you at times?
The hardest thing is it takes longer to get something done. Now, to be fair, when I was first started leading, I was leading teams of 15, 20 people. Now they're in the 200 range. So that in itself is harder. But you can't just go and do it. We say, okay, we're going to do this today. Then you just went out and tomorrow morning you can make that happen, or even this afternoon yet. Well, now I've got to talk to the general manager, who talks to the department heads, so you're talking sometimes a week out, which is still really fast compared to large entities, but it's slower than what it used to be. And then also, especially at first, they may be taking a different track than I would take. So I say, okay, this is the goal. We're going to do this. And then they go about doing it this a different way. And it's like, you just got a bite your lip, but let them do that this way. And most times it works out better than the way I had originally planned. But
you have to hold your ego in check because the ego wants to go, well, the way that I do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's interesting too, because one of the areas that I can struggle with as a leader, because here's the thing is that I run Action Lab Leadership and we're a leadership training company. I'm not perfect. I'm learning all the time about things that I do well and things, I need to work on this. And one of the things that I struggle with at times, and Mike, who's behind the camera, could probably attest to this, that if I am stressed or there's a lot going on, I sometimes have a desire to let me just take a bunch of stuff and just go into a hole and work and do stuff for like 8 hours straight,
right,
and not jump around from meeting to meeting and not help other people, because I just want to, this is controllable,
right,
and this is known, and let me just get after it.
Right.
But that's not necessarily helpful for the entire organization.
Correct. Very much so. And again, and sometimes you have to. I mean, once in a while, none of us are perfect. We got to go just do this. But yes, that is the challenge of it. So.
Yeah. And like you said, there are some things that I know, hey, if I just spend the next 4 hours doing this, I'm going to knock out all this stuff that if I talk to that person over here, this person over here, it'll get done, but it'll take longer. But it's also interesting because certain things will take longer the first time, but when they come back up again, it's actually going to be faster. It's this interesting dichotomy where it takes more time now to train them, but in the longer term, you're saving so much time.
It is very much so. But you got to look at the one I look at there is if it's a one-time thing. If it's something that I've done in the past that I can do and they'll never have to do it again, I don't mind getting involved in doing it. But my goal really is to not be involved in anything day to day at all. And so people ask me about the weather back home. I'm from Wisconsin and we're down here in Florida. I don't know. I left in October 16th, almost over a month ago, for that. The Teams runs the company. I talk to them on the phone, but that's it. So, I mean, my goal really is to, I'm getting to the age where I don't want to be there the day to day, and I want my team to do that. And that's taken years to get to that point. It's not like, you just decide tomorrow to go do that. And you have things to put in place to do that. But that's been my goal to do, and then let them grow from there.
What are your current favorite ways to empower your team to grow in their responsibility and grow in their skill sets?
Sure.
And I'm sure it's changes over time and it changes depending on the person, but generally speaking, what are one or two things that are go-tos for you to help people grow?
One of the things that they'll do it faster than anything else is taking them here. Tell you where we're recording this today, but taking them to a live event somewhere out of their comfort zone. So we've taken our marketing team to marketing conferences. We take, we were at the water park convention a few weeks ago, down here in Orlando, and but bringing people there and watching them, I'm gonna say blossom or bloom that's a rapid way to do that. Now you can only do that with people that are already leaders. For the most part, it's pretty expensive to bring the other people. But 3 years ago now, we brought our entire leadership team down to, there's a person we know that does a tour of Disney. And he shows us, he worked for Disney for years and years. So we see how Disney does stuff. We did behind the scenes tour of Disney. And then we also worked with the teams on different leadership things. And that made significant difference in everybody that came home. So, or that was participated in that. So doing that kind of thing that's the bigger things. And then as far as the leadership, for the people that are moving their way up, we have a whole, I wouldn't say a training program, but really a development program. And that's something else that we're really working on. We don't do as well developing our bench strength as I would like, which the whole idea is the fact that if, a top manager leaves, I hire another or three more counter people part-time to replace her because everybody else just moved up. And I don't know where we do a really good job with our, I'm going to say upper management level, but the levels below that, we're just developing them the level that I would like. So,
well, I want to acknowledge you too. It's interesting because sitting down to record this is the first time that you and I have met and talked, but I've had the opportunity to talk to some of your employees and who have come to events that we've hosted, and they brag so much on you and your organization for how much effort that you put in to helping them become better. And every single one of them that I've talked to, they all started on a frontline employee position, and now every one of them has spent years and they've grown up from the organization. They've taken on more, and they have done more than they thought was possible.
They have. And we love doing that. I love seeing that. I mean, we've got, like everything from Billy, who's, it's hard to describe what he does. He makes everything happen in the whole resort, but he started as a lifeguard. Our controller, our bookkeeper started as a face painter in the water park. That's everybody starts there and becomes the accountant for the whole company.
Yeah, that is the traditional career path of most accountants, right?
Yeah, that's what I think it is. So, you go down by our maintenance director of the whole resort started as a lifeguard. You just go down the list one after the other, and they've all were lifeguards or track attendants or whichever. Just about all of them were. So we love promoting from within. And that people have a career path. That also helps, by the way, with the leadership development. They can see where they can go. That they're not just hired here to run go-karts today. You could be, 5 years from now at APA. And our general manager or the assistant general manager of Action City is here with us, and he's 20. He's been with us, let's say 4 or 5 years now. 4 years. I remember we were talking last night. So wait, I can't have a beer with him, and that he has a pop, I have a beer. But that's
So if you do so much promotion from within, then to me, it means that the way that you hire is extremely important. Because if you're going to be hiring a lot of frontline employees, you need to find the right kinds of people. Obviously, you'll give them skills, but there are certain things you can't teach. And one of those things is things like personality.
Right.
They have to be the right type of character, right type of integrity, right type of personality. What are the characteristics in a frontline employee that you look for above all else?
I'm going to say that they're fun, but they also care about others. Because again, we're in it's a hospitality industry. We've got a hotel along the fun center, but it doesn't matter either way. They've got to want to, I'm going to say serve others, but make other people happy. And if they have no interest, they're like, this is my way or take it. I'm like, great. You might be great at maintenance, but you're not going to be at you're not going to be at the front line working. So when they're at their customer or guests.
How do you uncover that in an interview? Because anyone could say, oh, I care about other people. And of course I do. And I'm sure you've hired people who have said that. They get there, you go, that is a lie. That is not at all the case. What are the ways that you try to find reality behind the veil of an interview?
There's a couple things. One is that we don't do just one interview. There's always a multiple interviews with different people on top of that. Some of it comes down to the questions we'd like to ask. There's some of the questions I like to ask. And I don't do interviews hardly ever anymore. I mean, I only hire the very top management if I hire anybody. But again, letting people grow. If I did that, and I might pick the wrong people. They're like, well, I think this person would be great. Great, you're really good at it. You go do that person. But how would your best friend describe you? If I was at a barbecue, we're having a beer together, and what are they going to tell me about Danny? And that's an interesting perspective to get back on that. And then ask them stories, not about what they would do, but I'm really looking for what do in this situation. What teams? Well, I've never had a job before. No. Well, did you ever do anything in Boy Scouts? Did you ever do 4-H? Did you ever work a stand at your church and you were, making change? You were dealing with people. Give me some stories from that kind of thing. So you start digging deeper with some of the questions that you're asking.
If I was getting a beer with one of your friends, how would they describe you?
I'm pretty grounded with things. I like to see other people succeed. For that, I want to help them succeed. But most of them are going to say that I'm grounded, that I'm going to be reliable. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. For that, so I wouldn't necessarily equal the fun thing. But seriously,
so the way your friends would describe you, is that also how you would describe yourself?
Fairly close. And by the way, I've done this. By the way, if you ever want to do a really fun exercise, is you email 5 people, especially if I had a course that made us do this. Now every few years I do it on my own anyway. But you have a course and say, hey, I have a course and I was supposed to ask 5 people what my strengths are or how I am. Please tell me.
I've done that same thing.
It's a blast when you get back the stuff. I mean, the information back from them. So I'm using some of his based on some of that. And so,
yeah, I love that question. I've asked it before. I think the version that I've done is, what are 3 strengths you see in me that you don't think I give myself enough credit for?
Yep.
Which is an interesting way to pose that question.
Yep, it is.
We all have strengths that some I know, or any person, the royal we know what we're good at, but there are some things that we're inherently very good at that we don't give ourselves credit for, that everyone else around us they will say, well, of course you're amazing at that. If I have a question about that thing, I immediately go to you.
Right. Yep. So that's I guess maybe other people would tell me is that I have a lot of information stored away in my, I don't know. You ever looked at the Clifton Strengths? assessment of that?
It's one of the things that we do in our training.
Okay.
Yes.
It's great. I love it. But one of my, I've got several strategic thinking ones, but input is one. And input's gathering information to help other people. Is kind of the background of that. And I have that strength high. 2
of my 5 are input and learner.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I did all 34, but I have input, learner, ideation, strategic thinking, all of my top 10. I'm missing one. Ideation, input, and learner aligned again. So yeah. Yep.
At this point in your journey as the business owner, where you're not really in the day-to-day, right? You said your team can manage everything, and you haven't been back at the business since more than a month ago at the time of recording this. What are the things that bring stress to you right now as an owner? What are the things about being an owner when you're not involved in the day-to-day that do bring up stress? Or are you at a point in your own personal development and your ownership journey that you look and go, I don't really get stressed much anymore?
Actually, what stresses me most is not hearing, not getting it, staying into communication with them. And that's could be a once a week, half-hour phone call or hour phone call with the general manager of the resort. But when I feel disconnected from what's happening, I'm not there to see the day-to-day, but when I don't even see the bigger picture of it, I start to get stressed from that. So other than that, I don't get stressed too much anymore. Very often.
That's a nice place to be in those moments where you're not getting the updates and you don't know what you don't know. And so that creates the uncertainty, I would imagine, is what creates stress. If that's not happening, is that something that's on you that you're not checking with them, or are they not checking in with you?
Usually we have a preset schedule, but there are times so this week it's not hard because my general manager I usually meet with is here. We've talked lots this week. Last week I was actually busy. We had friends that came and visited us down here, so I was too busy on vacation to actually connect, and that's what kind of gives the. It's usually a scheduling conflict. My general manager is somewhere and I'm not, or vice versa. So that's where the stress would come.
Let's go back to talking about mistakes and failures, because we all make them and we all consistently will. It's part of life. But is there a particular failure that you've had that you're most grateful for? Because maybe it's something that you learned on the other side, or maybe something failed and because of that, something else turned out better than you could have imagined. Sure. What's a favorite failure of yours?
Favorite failure. There's no such thing as a favorite failure, but so the biggest one, it wasn't necessarily, it was a failure, but we'd had we were in the grocery business for 50 years, literally, maybe a little longer than that. And in 2012, the industry had changed so much. We had one store left. We'd had 90 stores, and we had one store. But in 2012, we decided to close the last one. And that's when you feel like a failure. So I had a really good team. We were doing what, we thought would work, but there was a whole slew of things that changed. And then we looked at the investment it would take to rejuvenate everything or to go do something else. It was like, I'm not willing to do that. And in the grocery business, you start talking, it's similar to this, but the margins are lower.
Yeah.
This being the FEC industry. The FEC industry is highly capital intensive also, but the margins are a lot higher. In the grocery business, you're looking at 1% or less than profit. Gross margin, you're looking at maybe, if things are going well, 20, 21%. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of, and that, by the way, is after food costs. That does not include labor. Your labor has to go out 21% and everything else. I mean, it's a highly, and we looked at that and said, no, it's not worth doing that. But we'd been in the business for 50 years. My grandpa started the store, and my dad the store we were closing was when my dad had started. We had other businesses too, but it was just it was time to go. But doing that at the time was like, oh my goodness. But then if I had stayed doing that, I wouldn't have been able to do everything I've done since then. I've done a tremendous amount of things since then that have been a lot of fun, and I've learned more since then because, again, I had to change everything. So
that was obviously a hard decision to make.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel the decision was easier to walk away from that when you did have other businesses still?
Yeah.
Or if you were in a situation where that was the business, would you have stayed on? Would it have been a lot harder to walk away from that?
I wouldn't have been able to afford to stay on. Just saying, it was. Okay. I was paying a substantial amount of money to be able to keep that business for the last couple of years, and it wasn't getting any better. I mean, it was getting better, but not fast enough in the rate. So the other businesses funded that. But it's much easier going towards something than it is having to leave and leaving something. So, by the way, I have context low if you're looking at Tipton strengths. It's like my 33rd strength. They're not 32nd strength. So, so that's looking backwards in the history. So that was easier, but still I look back and go, it would have been neat to be able to keep that. But it was much easier having something else already. So, and then I started another business on top of it. So
there you go. Being in a family business like that, or even I would imagine Metropolis is a family business as well.
Yeah.
Is there an added external family pressure about what to do and what not to do in those situations? When you say, here's the grocery store, my grandfather, I believe you said, started it, and well, we're going to make this decision, shutter the building. Was there a level of expectation or fear around what the rest of the family might say?
Oh, yes, that was all part of it. And that was part of the decision to do that. He didn't start that particular store. He started another store in another state back then. But still, we were then in the grocery business. And yes, and that actually probably had us keep it longer, trying different things to be successful with it. But yes, the family definitely that was a tough conversation.
Well, being a leader and an owner is already hard enough. And then when there's extra layers of complexity, let's call it, with family, it can make it even more difficult at times, I would imagine.
Yes, it does. It does. But they're understanding. It was a matter of having that. They didn't like it any better, but they also knew that the numbers were there, that just weren't there, to make it work. So, but that does lead to that extra thing. That's the back of your head going, did I let somebody down because I didn't try one more thing or work a little harder with that? And by the way, that in that industry, working long hours is also, 12-hour days. Someone told me, that if the secret to success of the grocery business is to work half days. Take whatever 12 hours I wanted and work.
That's funny.
So, yeah. And then I took that for granted for a long, long time. So, but
if we flip the coin then, because we just talked about maybe some of the pressures that come from a family business, but what are the things that most people wouldn't know about a family business that are joyous or you're grateful for that make it better? What are the positives of that?
Working with, again, so my sister and I, we have another business outside of the Metropolis. We own Dairy King restaurants also. We have 8 Dairy Queens. And we work together in that business. And I guess we can almost, so if somebody asks her a question blind right now, she's going to give an answer, and I would give that exact same answer. That's happened time after time after time again. That happens. It does in Metropolis too. And that. So I work. My dad's still active, so I still work with him. So he's down only working 4 days a week now. He's 81.
4 days a week at 81. That's
he does take a few months a year and goes to Phoenix. He leaves Wisconsin and goes out to Phoenix for a few months. Then he comes back and works 4 days.
Does that in the winter, snowbird?
Yeah, he's a snowbird. Yeah. Can't blame him.
Well, your strengths because of StrengthsFinder and many other pieces. I'm sure you're very, very self-aware about where you're strong. But what are the leadership skills or characteristics or qualities that you're working on improving right now that aren't as strong as you want them to be?
Sure. So communication is not one of my top strengths. It's in the middle of the 15 strengths. There's 34 of them, so you can only have 5. You're missing 29 other ones. But mine's in the middle. And the challenge is I can have a great idea, but communicating to you what that idea is, or communicating to my team what that is. Now they can shoot it down. That's the nice thing about how we're doing that. But if the better I am at communicating it, the more likely it is to make it happen. But that's the what I'm really working on, is how well I communicate. So if you don't understand what I'm saying, I haven't done my job right. So
I'm picking up everything you're saying very clearly, and I'm curious, is the communicating better being able to make sure your idea is clear, or to make sure it's more concise, or a bit of both?
It's a bit of both. And sometimes my challenge is sometimes I think when I'm talking, and in my role, that's more challenging, because sometimes people think that we're going to do this. It's like, well, no, I want you to listen a little bit. I want you to give me some feedback, and then tomorrow we'll come back and maybe talk about it again, or next week, and then we'll see if we really like it. If we have something bigger, it might be longer than that, but if we really like it and move forward with that, we're not just going to say, okay, Brian said we should do this, so we should do this. Time out. No, we shouldn't. Not yet.
That was external processing. Yes. That's all that was.
Yes, that it is for that. So my wife is great with that. She listens and works through things, but sometimes she doesn't have an idea about, or she doesn't know the background of everything else. So,
and if you have ambitious managers and employees who hear that and go, okay, he said this, let's go. It's good, but also at the same time you go, wait, that wasn't a directive. It was simply an idea that I'm trying to wrap my mind around. So it sounds like you're an external processor.
I am more of an external processor than I used to think I was. I thought I did everything internally, but I process a lot external.
Do you talk out loud to yourself when you're trying to solve a problem, even if no one else is in the room?
I do that occasionally, not as much as I used to. Well, now I could just say I'm talking to like ChatGPT and punching it in there and having Chat give me a response back to see how far off base I am. So a lot of ideas sound really good in my head that sometimes in the light of day or somewhere else aren't so good. So
if you look back on your journey in all of these businesses, is there a particular accomplishment that when it happened, you didn't fully appreciate, but now when you reflect on it, you can say that was such a crucial point in my growth as an owner and my growth as a leader that upon reflection is a lot clearer to you now?
The one this is not a business award that I won, but several years ago now, I was an adult leader in the Boy Scout, and I won the Silver Beaver Award for the district, which I'm like, I look back and I'm like, well, I didn't really do anything to deserve that. And one of the people that presented me said, well, no, when you look back, you'll see all the stuff that you did and you realize, all the things that you did. But that was the kind of thing like that. I'm like, I wasn't even going to go to the award banquet that night. My wife made me go and drugged me along, and because it'd been a long week and a long day, a long week. And I was just, and she drugged me along, and just so you knew that I was going to get the award, but they forgot to tell me. So little detail there. But getting the award, I'm like, well, I really didn't do anything special. But then later looking back, I'm like, well, I guess I did do a lot of stuff. So I'm like, that is been a worse era of school.
Are you better about giving yourself credit for the things you accomplished today?
I am better than I used to be. So that comes from a whole host of self. I mean, everything from, having a plan in the morning, but then reviewing it at night to see if I actually accomplished it or if it changed and what happened. So, I mean, that's the journaling in the evening. I resisted for a long, long time. I had a plan in the morning, but I didn't review it until the next morning. I started 3 years ago now is all. Maybe three and a half years ago, I started doing evening reviews. And that's probably helped me more than anything else, to say, hey, this is what it takes 5-10 minutes before bed. So I didn't want to do that. Just say it. I resisted for a long time.
What was the friction and resistance from?
Now I wanted to just shut down at night and just go to bed and not have to worry about, if I successfully did what I planned that morning. So for that. So I don't know. It really wasn't. Once I started doing it, now I miss it if I don't. I'm like, oh, I mean, even if I come home late at night. Last night, I left the camper at 7 yesterday morning, got back just before probably 11 o'clock last night. I still did it before I went to bed. So,
are the benefits you see of that review related to being able to connect the difference between what you planned and what got accomplished and where the gap was and being able to improve that? Or are the benefits about being able to find gratitude for what happened throughout the day, or is it both?
It's both. So if you ever, when you start reading or looking for any kind of self-development, it's all going to be about gratitude. I mean, everywhere from that you do that. It doesn't matter who you talk to. It may have a little bit different wording, but it's all about being grateful for what you've had and that. I look at the more of the gratitude, but then I also look at, did I actually, because it's real easy for you to put stuff, but again, ideation is I can put ideas out like this, and this, and this. And I'm like, so finally it's like, okay, you can stop now because you already got 3 weeks worth and you only got, a day. So, it get both, but it's more of the gratitude than the actual benefit comes from the gratitude, but then also letting me see what I can get done in a day and not trying to overbook it.
Well, one of the interesting philosophies about gratitude is that sometimes people think it's binary. You're either grateful or you want more. I'm grateful for what I have, or I want to accomplish more. And one of the philosophies I've learned from a mentor of mine, that's not it. It's grateful and you can be grateful for the things that you have and the things that have gone well, and you can want to accomplish more.
Oh yeah,
you can want to make more impact and help more people.
Yep,
both are true.
Yes, very much so. What happens is you start to get complacent if you don't want more. I'll go back to the Boy Scout thing again. So I was very active in the Boy Scouts and in the council, and one of I can't remember, the senior scout executive, but the next person down got promoted and went out to he got a council job, but he went and he was out the East Coast. And like 6 months after he got there, they struck oil or gas on the Boy Scout reserve. So all of a sudden he had, millions of dollars flowing in. The problem is with that is that if people don't think that you need help, they stop giving time, they stop giving money and but then when they stop giving time and money, they're not active. So the boys don't have to, it's actually about the people that are making go, not the time and the money, but without the money and the time, you don't get both. And as I was talking about it, he said, that is true. He said, unless you have a big enough vision to say, okay, yes, now we've got this windfall of $1 million or $2 million. What big vision do you have that's going to inspire people to want to be involved in that vision? So it's a matter of changing the size of your vision. But if you get complacent, you stop growing your vision. And that's when, I'm going to say you start to die, but you really start to die. Your business starts to die. You start to wilt the way you get old for that. So.
And it seems it's not just the vision to inspire others, but it's also to re-inspire yourself.
Definitely. If you're not re-inspiring yourself and trying something new and learning and growing, you'll just get old and be a grumpy old man or grumpy old lady. Either way, but
grumpy old something. Well, Brian, I could continue this conversation for a long time. I don't think we have that long, and I want to be respectful of your time because I've really enjoyed this. But this is the final question that I'll wrap up with here. Is what would be one action that you suggest listeners take if they want to become a better leader in their organization? What is one action they can start doing today in order to be on that journey to improve?
Sure. I'm going to say start looking beyond what your current role is and seeing what it takes to make that happen. Because it's always really easy. That's the other thing, by the way, with young leaders, is they all look at it and think that it's not very hard. I just get to sit in the office and, I get to read magazines and tell the other people what to do. And that's just all going to be perfect. And that's not quite how it works. They burst your bubble, but that really doesn't work that way. So, but if you don't start looking beyond what your current role is, you're stuck where you're at. You need to put wood on the fire before you're going to get heat. You need to be putting some effort out before you're going to start getting anything back. So.
Well, I think that's a great answer, and I appreciate your time, and thank you for joining us here on the show.
Oh, it was a lot of fun, so thanks for having me.
And thank you all for listening. If you liked what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe and send this episode to a friend that you think would enjoy it. Now go out there, take action in your business, and become the leader that your team needs you to be.